Go! Go! Nothing can stop me, I'm all the way up.
Okay, to get started, we got to set the table back to our friend the jungle tiger. Okay? What are some things that happen in the zoo?
They get fed.
Hold on, I forgot to hit record. We're good. Alright, back to the jungle tiger. What are some things that happen in the zoo?
It's easy.
Okay, first of all, we know that it's easy. What else?
Everything's done for them.
Everything's done for them, that's part of being easy for sure. They get fed. Let's talk about like struggle and mistakes. Very many mistakes, very many
No.
challenges.
Just knowledge.
So we could say no mistakes.
It looks comfortable.
It's comfortable, it's in your comfort zone for sure. What about learning? Yes learning or no learning?
No.
learning.
No learning. It's pretty clear. The zoo tiger didn't learn anything by living here, and you're usually not going to grow and learn too much if you just hang out in your comfort zone. You see how that's the same thing? Okay, so taking into account all the characteristics here, what can we say about the wild?
Hard.
It would be hard.
Yes,
A lot of challenges.
Yes, mistakes.
And yes,
Yes, mistakes. Yes, challenges. Yes, struggle. And therefore, yes,
Learning.
yes, learning. Every person in this room wants to get better at something. I know that. And that something might have to do with basketball, and that something might have to do with another sport, and that something might have to do with school or goals that you want to achieve. Everyone wants to get better at stuff. If your goal is to grow and get better, where do you need to be? In the wild. Would you agree with that? That's where learning happens. If you're going to get better at anything, you have to be in the wild. The big hurdle and the big challenge of that is when you're in the wild, something is guaranteed to happen. What? Failure. Learning and mistakes, learning and failure work hand in hand. So if you're going to commit to train in the wild and be a jungle tiger, you're also signing up to do a lot of this. And that's why most people can't handle this. The truth of the matter is this. It's not too hard to convince someone to get out of their comfort zone at first. To convince someone like, yeah, be a jungle tiger, try something new. But what most people do is venture out into the wild, then this starts to happen, and then they go, yo, show me where that zoo's at, I'm going back there. Why? Because they can't handle this. What this workshop is going to do is zoom in on failure. Something I caught myself doing for the past 3 years is hyping up failure and hyping up mistakes. The name of the entire company is Train Ugly, right? So I'm going around telling people, yeah, make mistakes and you learn. Fail and you learn. Now that's true, but it's not the whole story. We have to zoom in and talk about failure for a minute so we can really learn. Because it's not just the act of failing that makes you learn. It's not just making mistakes that help you learn. It's what do you do next? What happens after you fail? That's what determines if you learn or not. Because if you just fail and just make mistakes and then run back for your comfort zone and back to safety and back to the zoo, you're not learning. What really matters is I make the mistake, I fail, it hurts, I learn, and then I stay in the wild. That's how you learn. That's what it means to train ugly. You see that little piece of the puzzle that we haven't talked about yet. What do you do with failure? All on board with that? Zooming into this. And I will tell you, like, this talk is going to get real. We're going to talk about failure, which is not a normal conversation you're probably going to have at a basketball camp. That's a good thing, okay? So we're going to zoom in on the failure. My clicker is over here, and we're ready to rock. In your book, take a minute and write down some examples of when mistakes and failure can lead to learning. All right, let's take a second and share it with someone sitting close to you. Maybe a couple that you wrote. Just share it with them. All right, let's share up with the group. What do we got? What are some examples of when failure, mistakes can lead to growth? What do you got?
Like, you have like a bunch of quizzes, like failing on them can help you when you take a big test.
Okay, so failing on some quizzes and understanding like, wow, I really don't know that type of problem. And then getting help, right? And then you learn that type of problem. So you learn from the stumble. That's a great example. What else? When failure can lead to growth.
You can use it in sports a lot.
Sure. So what does that mean?
Like if you mess up, I don't know. Like if you have wrong form in shooting, you can like fix it and then get it right.
Sure. First, very common in sports.
If you don't know the play, you can like practice it.
Yeah. So we're running a play and I totally botch it. But then I can get information of what went wrong. So that failure can lead to growth, right? The answer or where we're trying to get to is like, whenever learning is involved, failure is involved as well. If you're gonna get good at something, you're gonna be bad first, period. Like when we learned the moves down there, the first time through, it was slow and clunky. By the third time through, you had it. But that was miniature mistakes and failures that you had to go through before you learned. It's really hard to learn without being bad at something first, if not impossible. Just like you couldn't walk at first, then you could. Couldn't ride a bike at first, then you could. Couldn't talk at first, then you could. But it took some struggle to get there. Just like when you learned algebra, right? Like that's how learning works. You have to be bad before you're good, always. That's like a law of learning. A law of learning. So mistakes and failures can lead to growth if you allow them to. If you allow them to. Think about this for a second. We learn more from the presence of struggle than the absence of struggle. What does that mean to us? What does that mean to you? We learn more from the presence of struggle than the absence of struggle.
Kind of the same thing as like, you learn more from when you're failing rather than when you're like struggling, rather than when there's nothing at all to struggle for.
So true. Think about that. You grow more when you struggle than when you don't struggle. That's a real thing to confront though, right? For instance, you are going to learn and grow more as a team if you play someone a little bit better than you. Than if you play someone you're going to crush by 40. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Super One-on-One, you're going to grow and learn more if you play someone a little better than you than if you play someone you know you can beat. Struggle is what leads to growth. That was the weight room example, remember? The struggle leads to growth. Learning is the same. Looking at the big picture, like big time successful people, you could argue that they reached their goals and they reached that level of success because of their struggle, because of their obstacles. Michael Jordan is a famous story. What happened to him in high school?
He got cut.
He got cut. Now, you could almost argue, I think, that if he never got cut, he never becomes Jordan. Think about that. Because getting cut was a major, major failure, and it hurt. But him getting cut lit a fire inside that propelled him to where he got. So you could almost say, well, if he didn't get cut, he would have never had that level of ignition, and maybe he would have been good, but he wouldn't have been Jordan. That's crazy to think about, right? That struggle, that failure led to the growth. If you really think about it, most successful people, and when I say successful, I'm not saying Kardashian successful, I'm saying like people who get good at stuff, who get really, really good at stuff, they come from a place where they had less resources than we do, right? And so you could argue that they become great because of those obstacles, not despite of the obstacles, right? So People who really, really make it and really, really get good at stuff, they get good because there's lots of struggle in their background. You look at successful people, a lot of them have major league struggles. Kendrick Lamar came from a place with no resources, no anything, way less than we have. But that obstacle and those struggles made him great. It's what he did with them that mattered. Do you see that? So it's kind of about how you approach the struggle and obstacles in your life. Do we use those or do we back down from those? This guy right here, his name is Seth Godin, my absolute hero in life. Like, what I'm doing now is mostly because of that dude. And I had the honor of Skyping with him about a year ago. He's worked with some of the most successful people in the whole world. And I asked this guy, I said, Seth, what's the difference between good learners and bad learners? Like, what do you see? And again, he's worked with like incredible, incredible people. What's the difference between good learners and bad learners? This is what he said.
Hi, my name is Seth Godin. I'm the author of 17 bestsellers. I've started a bunch of companies. I write a blog, but mostly I fail. I fail often, and I fail with relish because I understand that when I do something that might not work, I'm doing my best work. The people who are good at learning say, I like the feeling of not knowing yet. The same way the people who are good at skiing say, I like the feeling of being just a little bit out of control. That's how you get good at skiing, and that's how you get good at math. The difficulty comes from the fact that if you are not open to living with the tension of being stupid, you can't possibly learn it. I call it thirstiness. And if you are thirsty, it means that you are willing to feel stupid. You are willing to try. You are willing to expose yourself to the unknown in order to sate what your desires are to get to the next level.
What's he telling us about good learners and bad learners? What can we take from that? He said a lot of good stuff there, but let's like break it down for a minute. What did he say? Good. They like what? They like learning, and therefore they like
The feeling of not knowing.
the struggle, right? And he called it the tension. Good learners are open to that struggle and tension because good learners understand that's where you grow. You grow from the struggle and tension, and good learners are down to struggle. They want to learn and understand struggle is part of the equation. So they like doing problems that they don't necessarily know the answer to. And they like going a little too fast down the ski slope. And they like playing the player in the gym that's better than them. Because they know that struggle, that challenge is how you grow. And that's what they're about. Does that make sense? Why are bad learners bad at learning? They what?
They don't want to learn.
It's a one step deeper. They don't want to what?
Struggle.
Yeah.
They don't want to what?
Struggle.
They don't want to struggle. They can't handle that tension. They might even want to learn. They might even want to learn and get better. In fact, they probably do. I haven't ever met someone who's like, no, I don't want to get better. Everyone wants to get better, but they're not down for the struggle. If you can't handle the tension, it's really hard to learn. That's what he said. If you're not open to dealing with the tension of being stupid, it's hard to learn. We said at the start, to learn something, you're going to be bad first. And if you're not down to suck at first and be bad and struggle, you're never going to get the growth, right? Getting better is not pretty. And if you're obsessed over looking perfect, those are two things that clash. If you can't handle losing, it's hard to get better because then you're going to go out of your way to play easier teams and easier opponents because you just want to look good. You see that? Where would bad learners like to hang out? Why? There's no struggle there. It's easy there. You look good there. Where do good learners want to hang out? Why? It's hard, there's struggle, and that's where you learn. Good learners and bad learners is just another term for growth and fixed mindset, right? The main concern, remember the second thing on the table, the thing that we didn't talk about Monday, but the second maker and breaker was their main concern. Do you remember what it was? What's their main concern? How they look, and what's their main concern?
Learning.
Learning. You see it? Good learners, bad learners. Growth, fixed. That is the answer. They want to play the easy opponent so they can look good. They want to play the hard opponent so they can grow. If you do that a bunch, they're going to end up growing more over time because they're taking on challenges and they're backing down from them. That's why the graph goes like this, the math graph. That's why these people learn and achieve more over time, because they're taking on challenges. They're open to the struggle. They resist the struggle. They feel the struggle and run back to the zoo. You see, it's what you do with the struggle. It's what you do with the mistakes that matters. Now, that's kind of all the talking I'm going to do, and the rest of this is going to be discussion-based. A lot of it is going to involve you writing in the journal and then sharing, all right? My challenge to you is this. The more real you get with this and more honest you get with this, the better it's going to be for you. Okay, we're going to dive pretty deep into some stuff now, all right? So to get started, quick brainstorm in your journal. Write down as many examples of failure as you can. Failure that people experience. It could be in sports, it could be in life, it could be in school. Just examples of failure. Now, some of these will be big, some smaller, but as many examples of failures and mistakes as you can think of in about a minute. All right, let's share a few. Let's try to get a lot of different ones up here to help us with this discussion. What do we got? Examples of failure. Failing a test. Failing a test, or it could just be getting a bad grade on a test, right? That's a small failure. And depending on the test, it might be a big failure. What else?
Shooting.
Shooting as in, but what? That's more specific. You shoot it, but then what happens?
He doesn't go in.
You miss. A missed shot. That's a failure we all do a lot of. A missed shot. Now it could be the game winner, or it could be just a missed shot. So one is maybe bigger than the other, but either way, it's a failure, a missed shot. What else?
Cooking.
Burning
I just
something.
said making food.
Messing up the recipe, right? It's like, oh, baking soda and baking powder are different. Whoops, that's a failure. Oh, I left it too long in the oven and burnt it, right? What else?
Like letting someone down.
Yeah. Letting a friend down or something like that. What else?
Not taking care of something or someone, like neglecting it.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Failing to find a cure for a disease.
Yeah, that's like a big time failure, right? There are scientists that are trying to cure cancer, and there's no cure for cancer yet, so they've failed literally millions of times, right? Failed. Whoop, that's not it. Whoop, that's not it. Whoop, that's not it. They're failing, right? That's a great example. What else?
Riding a bike.
Yeah, falling off your bike. What's a team-related one in basketball? Losing a game. Now it could be we just lost a game, or we lost to Rock Springs, or we lost the loser out game at regionals, right? Those are different ends of the spectrum, but they're failures. We didn't make it to state. We lost to our rival, or we lost the game. Say that there's like a play in town and you try out for a part. What would a failure be involved with that?
Not getting apart.
So not getting a part, and that's the same as getting cut or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same as not getting a job. I'm going to say not getting a part, not getting a job. What about with relationships? What is a failure in a relationship? Huh? Divorce, or I got dumped, or we broke up, right? That's a small failure, a breakup. What if you ask some dude out and he goes, nope? What is that called? What's that called?
Rejection.
Rejection.
Embarrassment's a failure too.
Well, it
Rejection.
depends on what kind of embarrassment.
Rejection. Have you felt rejected before? We've all felt that before. Rejection. You get shut down. Okay? These are all things that you've probably dealt with before. And they're all things that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life all the time. You're going to experience big failures, small failures. Some are incredibly unfair that happen to people. Some are on you, self-induced, right? But the truth is, you failing and these things that you face are going to be there every day, every week, every year, in everything that you do. There's lots of different ends of the spectrum, but again, we could probably list about 1,000 things in that category. Okay? Now let's go a little deeper with this. First, I want you to think about this question, and you can just write your answer in your book. Why do we hate failure? Take your best guess and write it in the book. What do you think? Why do we hate failure? What do you got?
Because most people don't like when people see them mess up or look bad.
Like the fear of not being good enough,
Yeah.
right? And that's another way of saying the fear of looking bad. The fear of letting someone down. All of those things are under the umbrella of the fear of not being good enough or the fear of looking bad. Are you with me on that? And we might have said it in different words, but I bet most of you said something down that road. And that's this reality. We really, really, really don't like not being good. We really, really, really don't like failing. We don't like looking bad. Okay? Getting a little more real. How do we normally feel when we fail? Let's talk about the emotions. Take a minute and write them down. There's a lot involved, and I know that you've felt them before because you've all failed before. What emotions, what feelings are involved with a failure? When we don't make it to state, how do we feel? When we fail a test, how do we feel? Think about it. When we break up with someone, how do we feel? All right, let's share a couple. Disappointed. Frustrated.
Scared.
Scared.
Embarrassment.
Embarrassed.
Negative in general.
Yeah.
Feels.
I'll just put like
happy.
down. You feel down, right?
Yeah.
What else?
Upset.
Upset. Have you ever felt angry?
Yeah.
What else? Sad. Have you ever felt sad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We didn't make it to state. That's sad. Right? That's sad. We feel that. Anyone want to add any more to that? I think that is a lot of them, right? If we're going to be real about it, that's a lot of them. And the truth is, when you fail, you might even feel a combination of these: angry and sad, embarrassed and sad. You know what I'm saying?
You feel like giving up sometimes.
Yeah. Like discouraged, right? Like, I'm stuck. This is pointless. I'm discouraged. For sure. Truth is, you've all felt these. You're going to feel these. These happen when this happens, right? When you break up, you're going to feel sad. No matter what, you will. If you don't get the part or get cut, it sucks. These are always going to happen when these happen, okay? Now let's take it another step deeper and answer this question. Okay, so if you can see, we're like progressing through this. This is what happens, this is how we feel, and now the next question is, what do we normally do? So we fail, we feel this, and then what do we do? What is our action based on the failure, the emotion? And then how do we normally act when we fail? Okay, let's share up to the board. How do we normally act when we fail? And we can be real about this. What?
Cry.
So we feel sad, so we cry. What else?
Like blame others or yourself.
Blame.
Feel sorry?
Avoid people.
Avoid people. And can I say, like, we shut down?
Yeah.
We shut down. We want to be alone. And what did you say?
Feel sorry for yourself. Sometimes you try harder next time.
Uh-huh.
Some people quit. And
Give up.
They give up. Yep.
Put your head down.
Yeah,
Hang
kind of like mope around. How do you spell mope? Mope.
Yeah.
That'll do. What else? There's a lot of things we do. Now, I'll get real with you now. You've been real with me, I'll get real with you. I've been in the midst of a big old failure, big old fall for the last 3 months, and it sucks. And to be real with you, it's like, I haven't failed in a long time, and this is a big one, and it sucks real bad. But something that happened is when I experienced this, I decided to like really learn about it and like research. Because there's people out there who've devoted their lives to researching failure and emotions and what you do with them, right? So I got into it, I started reading, I started emailing people, talking to people, and I learned a lot. And something that I learned is pretty interesting is, as far as our actions of what we do when we fail, there's 2 big categories that all those things fall under. And the 2 categories are called offloading, and the other one is called hiding, okay? So what do you think offloading means? So again, just to take a step back, we fail, we feel this. What does offloading mean, you think?
Reacting to those
Huh?
feelings. Reacting to those feelings.
Yeah, it's reacting, and what do you think offloading, like, it means? It's a reaction to this what?
Like you're distant, you like go higher.
Close. What do you think? It's taking this and this suckiness and finding a way to get rid of it. So offloading is blaming. Do you see how blaming is a form of offloading, right? If I fail a test and I feel this and I want to get out of that, what would offloading mean if I was going to blame someone? Who would I blame?
The teacher.
The teacher sucks anyways, right? So now I failed, I feel like this, but if I blame it on someone else, all I'm doing is getting rid of that. Does that make sense why you do that? Have you ever had a bad game or a bad day and then you get home and then you attack someone else that had nothing to do with the situation? Why is that a form of offloading, you think? What is that? What's going on with that?
Do you take your anger out on someone?
Yes, and look, and this is kind of like disgusting to think about. What you're doing is this. You failed in one way or the other. You feel like shit. And then you say, I want to make somebody else feel like shit.
Oh.
No, but that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're bringing someone, it's like, I hurt, you should hurt too. That's offloading.
You don't like to be alone.
Yeah. But do you see what's going on? Do you see how these are steering us? We're trying to offload them on somebody else, blame them on someone else. My coach sucks. My teammates suck. They didn't give me the ball enough. I'm just blaming, I'm offloading. All I'm doing is trying to get rid of this. We've all done it. It's very real. Okay? What about hiding? What do you think hiding is?
You know yourself.
That's part of it. What?
You avoid it?
Avoiding it. So hiding would be if I'm playing a game and someone steals the ball from me a couple times in a row. Okay? It's a failure. I feel embarrassed or whatever emotion I feel. Not a good one. And if my approach then was to hide, what would I do?
Would just keep going.
You would know.
If I'm hiding from this.
Take me out.
Coach, just take me out, my foot hurts, or something like that, right? Or take me out of the game. Or every time I get the ball, ooh, you take it, you take it, you take it. Do you see how that's hiding? And what is hiding trying to do with these emotions?
Not making
Not let them happen, right? I fail, I feel this, then my solution is, I don't want to feel that anymore, therefore, I'm just going to hide from the failure and not fail anymore, so I don't have to feel this. So what I'm doing is, maybe I'm out in the wild, maybe I'm playing and competing and doing my thing, but I'm making mistakes. Where do you go to hide? The zoo is where you hide. The play comes, and I try out for a part.
I have a Band-Aid.
I don't have one on my pocket.
Okay, I'm gonna go wash this off.
Do
You're
your
bleeding
thing.
on my finger.
It got real in here.
Yeah, real fast.
Blood has been shed.
Wait, where is the bathroom at?
Go
That way?
down that way.
It's
Down
down
that
that
hallway, and then it'll be on your
Right.
right.
Amateur night. Anyways, let's say the play comes, I try out for a part, and I don't get it. What would hiding mean if the play comes back the next year?
Not doing it.
I don't even try out again, right? Do you see how I'm hiding from that vulnerability of trying out for a part? I break up with someone. It sucks really, really, really bad.
To avoid the person.
I can avoid the person, and then what would hiding be big picture?
Not dating.
Yeah, just being like, I don't want to do that anymore. And you're hiding from the emotion of the failure. Hiding after a rejection would be not trying to ask someone again, right? Do you see how that? What about we're trying to find a cure for cancer? They have never found a cure for cancer, therefore they failed 1,000,000 times. If they were to hide from that failure, obviously when they fail, they're just like, damn, this sucks. Like, we need to find this. But if they're hiding, what would they do?
They would never try that.
They would stop.
They wouldn't treat cancer patients.
Right. So you can't, what I'm trying to say is this. If we're trying to learn, you cannot learn if you're hiding. Does that make sense? If I'm trying to be a better shooter, and I miss a couple shots, and go back to the zoo and hide, what would I do?
Not shoot.
Stop shooting. Can I get better at shooting by not shooting? That goes against everything we've taught you in 3 days. The only way to get better at shooting is to shoot. But if I let a couple misses get to me and I hide from those emotions and hide from that vulnerability, I can't get better at shooting. Last step. We said we fail, this is how we feel, this is how we normally act. My next question for you is, how should we act when we fail? We said, how do you normally act? Now it's, how should we act? How should we act when we fail? What do we got?
You should try to let it go and don't linger on it and keep thinking about it.
Okay, so try to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving on doesn't mean I'm hiding. It means I confront it and then move on. Are you with me there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, move on. So that's like, I make a couple turnovers, I figure it out, and then I move on. It's not like I make a turnover and for the next 3 minutes I'm whacked in the head because I'm like, oh man, I can't turn the ball over, right? And I'll probably turn the ball over more because I'm obsessing over the first one. Okay, what should we do?
Keep our heads up.
Could that mean stay positive?
Yeah.
Now, we hear that word a lot, stay positive. I want to define it a little more accurately. Positive doesn't mean I'm fake. Fake means I missed a shot. Woo, yeah, I'm good. Or, We lost the game, and it's just like, oh, I'm positive and happy, it's all good. That's not real. Being positive means, look, I missed that shot, that sucks. Turn the ball over, that sucks. We lost, it sucks. The positive attitude means, I can learn from this. Good can come from this. I'm going to go to work on this. That's being positive. Being positive isn't being fake. Because the truth is, failures suck. I'm not telling you that they don't. What else should we do with it? How should we act? Stay confident. What else?
Maybe like change for the better.
Ooh. Could we say in a more general term, because I like that, learn from it.
Yeah.
Learn from it. There's one step that you have to do before you learn from it. What might that be?
Recognize.
What'd you say?
Recognize.
Yeah. What the heck went wrong? Right? So I think recognizing what happened, and one way I like to talk about it is deconstruct it. Do you see how you have to do that before you can learn from it? You have to figure out what went wrong before you find the lesson. So let's talk about the failed test, okay? So one approach is I fail the test and I offload. And offloading means what? I blame the teacher sucks. Do you think by doing that and offloading I'm going to learn? No. All I'm doing is trying to get rid of the emotions and I blame it on someone else. Definitely don't learn. What would hiding be? I failed the test. What would hiding be?
Avoiding, like not like avoiding the teacher.
Just kind of shutting down. It's just like, you know what? Math is stupid anyways. I don't care about it. And then you just stop trying. That's hiding. You just kind of get discouraged and you don't try anymore. Have you seen that happen to people? That's hiding. What if instead we decided to deconstruct it? What would that mean on that math test?
Figure out what you need to learn. Go ask for help.
Yeah. So first it's like, oh, whoa, I missed all of the problems that were this type. So you deconstruct it. Like, why did I fail? Maybe it's, well, I didn't even study all week. Like, that's what went wrong. Do you see how you deconstruct, and then through the deconstruction, you find out what went wrong, you find out what to fix. Do you need help? Do you need a tutor? Should you just study? Right? When you deconstruct, you find the lesson. When you find the lesson, you grow. You can't find the lesson if you're hiding. You can't find the lesson if you're offloading. Here is the major battle that you're confronted with if you're trying to learn. This is the tough part. Notice how I asked you, how should we act, not how should we feel. The truth, the crappy truth, is these emotions are not going anywhere. We can get better at them, but the truth is the emotions are there. The emotions are built into your brain. They come from a thing called the amygdala. We are humans. We feel emotions. And when you lose a game, you will feel these things. And when you miss a shot, you're going to feel those things. And when you break up with someone, you feel that. And when you get rejected, you feel that. And those aren't going anywhere. And they shouldn't go anywhere. That's a part of being a person. Here's the trick. You're going to fail, and you're going to feel this. And there's nothing we can do about that. The trick is, can I feel this and do that? Your instincts are going to say, you feel this, we better offload it now. We better hide now. If we're here to get better, you can't do that. If I want to become a great shooter, and every time I start missing, I start hiding, I can never become a great shooter. Because I'm robbing myself of reps. If I want to find a job, and I don't get hired for the first one and hide from the rest of the opportunities and only do sure things, I'm not going to get better and be as happy as I could be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
key is to feel it. You can't hide from the emotions. You can't offload the emotions. The emotions are a part of this step. They have to be there. You have to feel them and then do that. You cannot really control these, but you can control your actions. You can control what you do with it. Can I feel sad and angry and upset and still do the right thing?
Yes.
Right? That's the key right now. But it took us 30 minutes to get there. 30 minutes to build this up, and 30 minutes to tell you, look, it's okay to feel those things. In fact, it's good to feel those things. It's good to talk about those things. It's good to confront those things, because those things have to be there for us to learn. Is that fun? No. But that's part of the deal. If we want to be great learners, we have to understand that emotions are going to be a part of the equation, that failure is a part of the equation, that when we fail, we feel crappy. But can we feel crappy and then dare greatly in the wild again? That's what matters. Most people feel crappy and then hide back in the zoo. Most people feel crappy and then offload. And most people aren't very good at learning. To be good at learning, you have to be vulnerable. And that's a word that you probably don't like to talk about. But in my opinion, and lots of people, Brene Brown, she's an incredible researcher on vulnerability. Being vulnerable is like the most brave thing you could ever do. Because being vulnerable is saying, look, I'm going to go to the wild, and in the wild, I'm going to fail. That's being vulnerable. That's putting yourself out there. I'm going to apply for a school I might not get into. I'm going to ask someone out who might say no. That's being vulnerable, right? You're setting yourself up for failure. And sometimes it's not going to work. Being brave is committing to, yeah, that didn't work, yeah, that sucks, but I'm going to do it again. That's some real stuff. Being vulnerable is like the most brave thing you could ever do. What do you do with failure? Okay, so to sum it all up, here's where we're at. If we were to rework and change the way that we look at failure, I think step one is we just have to be real and accept that it's going to happen. If we're going to train in the jungle, if we're going to be a jungle tiger, failure is guaranteed to happen. If we're going to do things that might not work, which are the best things, sometimes they might not work. You're going to miss shots, and you're going to lose games, and you're going to get dumped, and you're going to fail tests, and you're going to do all of that stuff. Failure is going to happen. What matters is what we do with it. So once it does happen, what happens next? My advice to you, and I'll give you this slide, so don't worry about writing it all down. We have to be real about it. I'm going to be real with you. It's not fun to fail. It sucks to fail. I'm still hurting from my failure, and it's been months. It sucks. So no one should ever tell you to not feel these things. It's good to feel that. It's part of the equation. Be real, it sucks. Feel it, do not hide, do not offload. As soon as you hide, as soon as you offload, you've robbed yourself of the opportunity to grow. Then we go to work. We feel it, and then we deconstruct it. We find the lesson, and then the most important thing is stay in the wild. Some people call this daring greatly. My sister has that tattooed on her wrist, daring greatly. What daring greatly means is this: I'm about getting better. I want to be in the arena, in the wild. That's where I get better, that's where I belong. I'm signing up to doing a lot of that and a lot of failing, because I know to do that, I have to do that. Daring greatly means I'm going to be a jungle tiger, and I also know that means I'm going to get my ass kicked. That's part of the deal, part of the contract. Daring greatly means I fail and fall, and then I get up, and everything tells me to go back to the zoo. Instead, I stay. And I stay knowing that I'm going to fall again. You see how brave that is? We said it's the courage to fail. That's the courage. The courage is, I'm signing up to learn. I know failure is going to happen. I know that when I fail, it sucks really bad. And I know I'm gonna get up and stay here, and I also know I'm gonna fall again. That is brave. But if you want to get better at something, if you want to be happy, if you want to have a great life and get good at stuff and learn and enjoy this ride, that's where it happens. And you have to be able to confront and deal with the failure that's going to happen. You have to be able to feel those emotions and understand those emotions and go to work on those emotions and go to work on your actions. What do you do with failure? If we lose 5 games in a row, what do we do next? Are we going to break down? Are we going to get angry? Are we going to blame? Are we going to hide? Or are we going to go to work on it? Are we going to confront the emotions and go to work on it?
This is exclusive. Go! Go! Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.